So, okay. So, Brenda, if you could go back in time or forward in time, where would you go?
I would probably go back to when I was a little girl.
Really?
I still have my grandfather. I was very close to him. And I lost him when I was 10. A car fell on him and it killed him. And
Like he was working on it or something?
yeah.
Oh.
And that's why if I see a car up on jacks today, I freak out.
Yeah.
You know, but when he died, a big part of me died. And my aunt, rest her soul, told me that God wanted him. Wrong thing to say to a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
Because I was raised Catholic, and I hated God. I rebelled, big time rebelled. I told my aunt, I said, God doesn't need him like I need him. He needs to just give him back to me. I went down the wrong path, many ways, which it made me who I am today, and I'm grateful for the lessons I've learned. Not at the time, but when I look back at it, I'm very grateful for everything that I went through.
Yep.
But to hold him again would be everything to me. And I know when I go to heaven, he's going to be there with God, and he's going to tell me, here I am. And I'm going to be so happy, you know. When I found out I had cancer back in 2019, my cousin also found out she had cancer. But mine was breast cancer, hers was bile duct cancer. And that's a very fast-moving cancer. And we both found out about the same time. And I asked her before she passed, I said, Lisa, I know you're going to heaven. You're going to see Grandpa when you get up there. Please tell him I miss him so much and I love him. Well, it was really unusual. Well, I can't say unusual. It was beautiful because she promised me that. And the day that she passed, I had this feeling come upon me that she had told him. I felt it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like the day I was saved.
Yeah.
Nothing more amazing than having God come into your life and know he's there for you. But
yeah, that he gives those
awesome.
gifts, those gifts
Yes.
of like,
he does.
yeah.
Yep.
And he's brought me out of a lot of things. I wouldn't be here today.
We'll talk about all of those things here. So one more fun question, and then we'll get more into your story. So,
Okay.
So do you have a favorite movie? Do you watch movies?
I have a lot of favorites. But for some reason, the Titanic is what's coming to mind. It could be because my life went through a Titanic. I don't know. But I love that movie. You know,
I've
could
never
watch that.
finished it.
My Kate's boats.
It's very heartbreaking at the end, but
It's a
it
love
was
story.
it was beautiful throughout.
It's what?
It's a love story.
Oh my God. You know what I say about movies? Here's my theory. I have had enough sad things happen in my life. Why would I want to watch a sad movie? And as soon as they got to the part, I've said it 100 times, the mom's putting her kids to bed and they're drowning. I'm like, I'm out. I'm out. Like, I'm not. Why would I want to watch the world sad enough?
It is
very
very sad.
And how kind of a love movie is it? Doesn't the guy die?
He does.
he
What
did.
kind of love is that? I mean,
It's a forever love because
is,
she
because
kept that love with her
She still
forever.
talked about him when she was 90-something.
Up to the day she died.
did she get remarried?
I'm sure she did.
She did because that's when she had her daughter.
I don't remember.
And, you know, but she took on his name, and I was proud of her. She left her abuser. I was proud of her.
That's a part of the movie? How'd I miss that movie?
I'll have to go back and watch it myself.
No, I'm not going back. You
Well,
have
she
to
was,
tell me what it
she
says.
was, she was gonna marry the guy, okay, and he would constantly be on her, telling her what she could and couldn't do, who she could and couldn't talk to, who she could hang out with.
He was a
you know.
controller.
There you go, and that's part
The
of an
elite,
abuser.
you know, and yeah, he was just one of the elite with all this money, and I do remember that.
and she found love in somebody who was poor.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. Well, still, I'm not convinced to get on a cruise ship or to watch sad movies
Okay.
at all.
So are you from Huntington then, Brenda?
No.
No, where are you from?
I was born and raised in LaPorte, Indiana. I lived there until, gosh, I'm going to tell my age now, 1988, when I married my abuser and moved down to Florida with him. We became over-the-road truck drivers. Very hard life to live, especially when you're being beat and told you're no good, that nobody wants you around. And I think that's why I have some issues still today with being around people and talking a lot. Once I know you, I won't shut up. But it takes me a bit to get to know somebody. And you got to be the talker if you want me to get to know you, because it took you coming, well, I went to you with my issues, but you were very talkative with me. So it made it easy for me to talk with you.
Well, I'd sit down with you and your granddaughter because she wanted to be baptized. So I think that was the first time I had talked with you. And yeah. Yep. So childhood was, I mean, until your grandpa passed away at 10. So was childhood pretty amazing? Was it so you rebelled prior to 10?
Up until then, it was awesome.
It was great.
My best life ever. I did everything with my grandfather. He would tell my mom, you pull her out of school, you pack her stuff for a week, she's going with me, I'm going on vacation. Mom and Dad never told Grandpa no. And my uncle still to this day tells everybody, that's my dad's pride and joy right there. So not only did I feel it, but everyone else knew it. You know, so, but yeah, when he died, a big part of me died. And my aunt made a mistake, and rest her soul, God wanted him. I don't think I could ever tell a child that, no matter how hard, because of what I went through after that. So I got in a lot of trouble in school. I ended up going into a girls' home, got in a fight there, went to jail for a week when I was a teenager.
For fighting?
At the girls' home.
Okay. So is that what you were doing in school too that got you kicked out of school? Was it fighting or?
No, I'd get caught smoking. Or, yeah, I got kicked out for fighting a couple times. But when I ended up in the girls' home, it was because my choice was to not go home. I didn't want to be there no more, you know. And in my eyes, that wasn't home anymore. I didn't have Grandpa. And so I went into the girls' home because I refused to go home. So the police took me there. The girls and I did not get along. They were their own kind of people, and I was mine. And I heard them all talking on the bus that day because we got sent home from school early because of the snow. And I heard them talking. They were going to beat me up when they got off the bus, and that the house mother knew this. But
and she was going to let it happen?
She was going to let it happen. And so I got off the bus. I threw my stuff on the ground, and I just started going at them. Next thing you know, the house mother's coming out, and the cops are coming. I told her, I said, I'm coming after you next because you knew about it, and you were allowing it.
Oh, my gosh.
That a girl. Come on.
Oh, yeah. I was mean back then.
How old were you? Like 15? Or
15.
15? Oh, my God.
Spent a week in jail at 15.
Like,
Swore I'd never go back.
like
but
jail. Like,
Yeah.
like county jail.
Yes.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
didn't think they did that. I thought you had to be like 18 or something.
Well,
to go
back
to jail.
then, here I go. I'm talking my age again. Back then, you did.
Yeah. They probably made some exceptions back
Wow.
then. Small town.
Mm-hmm. Yes, a small town, everybody knows your business.
Wow.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So I got thrown in jail, and I told them when they took me down there, you can't keep me out of school. Well, yeah, they could, and they did, and they showed me. So I was out of school for a week, went in front of the judge. My mom had my uncle take me in for the rest of the school year, and he was going through a divorce, so I was helping him with his 1 and 3-year-old at the time. So I was happy there. It was my uncle, and I had his 2 boys I was taking care of. But then Mom and Dad wanted me back home. So the following year, I went back home for school and that. And things were okay, but I still didn't feel like I belonged. I just still very rebellious with them and, hurt. I got compared to my sister who was a year younger than me. She was Miss Rah-Rah, Miss Tootie, Goody Two-Shoes, and no matter what I did, I couldn't make my mom happy as far as I was concerned. And so, when you're told, hey, why can't you be more like your sister? Because I'm not my sister, I am me, and I don't want to be like her, it's just me. And it's funny because today my mom and I are very close.
Oh, really?
As much as I rebelled against her growing up.
A mother's love.
Yeah, she never gave up.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
Because my mom just turned 81. And I still have her in my life. And I thank God daily for her. And
Is she around here now? Or
she's
still
in
down
LaPorte.
there? Okay. Yeah.
Well, that's a whole nother story as to how I moved here.
Okay.
But, so 12 and a half years I spent on the road.
So you got, how did you meet this guy? Right, because I guess, again, this is a huge part of the story, right?
Yeah, this goes back, again, to my younger years. We had moved down to Florida when I was in 2nd or 3rd grade.
Okay.
And stayed a year down there. We lived in a campground called Blue Parrot Campground in Lady Lake, Florida. That's where I met my abuser. We were both in the same grade. He chased me around. I couldn't stand him. Found out later in life that he had the biggest crush on me. And so, anyway, we moved back to Indiana. My mom didn't want to leave the family anymore. So it's cool. We're good, But I met him there. His family kept in touch with my family over the years. And they quit talking when him and I got married.
Yeah, I know, but it's still, how does that work? He's in Florida. You're here.
And he was an over-the-road truck driver, so he was traveling around. So he'd come and stay with my mom in town. And sometimes
how old
he'd
were you
come
then? Like when he was stopping?
At that time, it was 88, so... 20...
What year were you born?
64.
Yes,
No, really,
you would have been 24. Yes, 24.
I had to sit and think, don't make me do that. That's hard.
So this whole time, you're not dating anybody else. You're just waiting for this guy.
No. Actually, when he came back into my life, I was married. The first husband. He was a good friend of my brother, and I promised my brother I'd never marry another friend of his again because it ruined their friendship. And it's funny because now we're all friends again. So
you got married right out of high school?
Pretty much, yeah, like a fool. Wasn't ready.
Right.
But it was one of those, everybody else is doing it, why don't we?
Right.
And he and I, we weren't even dating at the time. We were just close friends.
And he said, you want to get married?
Yeah, and everybody was getting married, and I said, okay.
Oh, gosh.
Wow.
I told you, I messed my life up.
I didn't
God
mean it
brought
that
me
way.
through
I'm just
it all.
like, yeah, yeah, you don't have to date to get married. Just ask. You know?
I know. Well, we were out partying, and then when I was straightened out the next day, I was like, I don't know if I want to get married, but
Oh, gosh.
it was too late. It was already told to everybody, and I just felt that I couldn't go back.
And at this point, just an assumption is you're not in church. God's not a part of your life. Like nothing in that realm. Right. So you're married. You get a divorce. This guy shows up. Right.
And God is still not completely back in my life by my choices.
Mm-hmm.
So
Because he was as a child. I don't know if we talked about that.
Yes.
Because he was,
I
because he
was,
was Catholic.
yes.
Yeah. And then when Grandpa died,
that was it.
All went
we're fighting
south.
him.
You get divorced. The over-the-road truck driver shows up, stays at the house, and you decide not to date him and just marry him too. I mean, I'm just making.
Let's go see the country. Okay.
I'm just making some assumptions. Like
it's a pretty close assumption. He and I, we talked a lot.
Yeah.
While he was on the road, and he'd come by and hang out and stay with me when he was in town.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went on a vacation from a job that I regret ever losing. And instead of going back to work, I stayed out on the road with him, and we got married through Justice of the Peace in Phoenix, Arizona. And we went to my cousin's house prior to, never told him what we were planning. Instead, left their house that morning, went to JP, got married, and back out on the road we went.
Yeah, so just, like, this is a curiosity of mine because, I've heard you talk earlier and you've said it, like, multiple times. I met my abuser. Like, you still haven't said his name yet.
Oh, Michael.
No, that's okay. I'm just saying, obviously, that is a huge part of. So my question always is, are there ever any indications of those things beforehand? Or are those guys just good at hiding it?
There is a list of 21 signs of an abuser.
Oh, wow.
I found that out in one of the shelters I was staying at over the years. And so I made a copy of it, and I keep it with me. All the signs were there.
Oh, really?
First thing they do is, oh, you're just so beautiful. Let me get the door for you. And this is where my problem is with men today, because I know there are good men out there. But then I start weighing in these things in my head. You
just don't trust them.
Right.
Right? Because they're like,
right. And I told God he's going to have to slap me in the face with a man next time. Because if not, it's not going to happen again. I don't trust myself. And so it's all on God. If he wants me to have somebody, he will send me the right one, and he will let me know. Right.
But they start off by schmoozing you, and there is no real indication that.
No. He, okay, so then my ex-husband didn't have to give me a car, and I had a child. So he goes out and he bought me a bike, and he put a little bike seat on it for my baby, and that was how I got around in LaPorte, was through my bike.
So is this your first husband, or this is the trucker husband? The trucker husband.
This is the trucker husband that I'm talking about.
So did you have a baby by him, or that was your first husband?
The first husband I had a child with.
Okay.
And then 10 years later, I had child 2.
Okay.
Which is Natty's mom.
Okay. So you had a baby by the first husband, and now the trucker husband bought you a bike for the baby.
And he took over really good as a father role.
That's what I mean. So he's
giving
you money, buying you stuff, taking care of you.
Excellent with the baby, you know what I mean? But what I didn't see was he was pulling me away from my friends and family. And that was that's a sure tell sign. When they pull you away from your family, that's a sure tell sign. Because now they're in control. Then you throw
because they isolate you.
Yes.
I know the reason I'm repeating these things is like one of the things you said is like your story to help people with domestic violence. So I mean,
Right.
If people are listening or watching, I mean, these are signs that I'm assuming are universal. Like they swoop in, they take care of you, they make you dependent because they're giving you the money. They isolate you away from family. So like, I'm just so people know,
you're
be
right.
on the lookout for
that. That's 100% correct. I should have started checking into things the first time he beat me, but I was young, thought I was in love.
So how long into the relationship did that happen?
When him and I got married, that's when the beating started.
So
it wasn't until then.
And that I've heard that, up in the courting, the dating, all of that stuff, everything's fine and dandy. You get married and it switches.
Yes.
So how long did you date him before?
We dated a year.
A year.
And then
it's like, how can they just keep that within themselves and not do anything until you get married? And then it's just like
because
all bets are off.
You're so into everything that they are showing you, love-wise, financially, whatever it all is. You are so in tune to that so-called love that you do not see any of these signs until it starts happening. But then you're already in love, hook, line, sinker. So it took me 21 years.
Wow.
And close to death 3 times for me to finally, and God stepping in for this to all happen. But would I change my life? No.
Well, let's make sure everybody understands this. So I don't know that people can get the perspective, and we don't have to go into it in detail, but when you say he beat me, I think probably there are people that are listening, and when you're young in your marriage, every once in a while, you make your wife mad and she smacks you a good one. You never had that?
No.
You never smacked Eric?
No.
Nick?
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say, one time I made Sherry mad. She punched me in the stomach so hard it knocked the wind out of me.
No.
Oh, wow.
Again, but it was just like, it's young. And then the guy, you punch a hole in the wall. Like Eric's never punched a hole in the wall?
Nope.
Okay, well, Eric, you're the best. And the rest of us.
He's yelled. I mean, I made him mad.
No,
so don't think
know.
it. Like,
Nick, did you ever punch a hole in the wall?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
oh, my gosh, you guys.
No, so I'm saying.
My ex used to do that too.
So the only reason I'm bringing that up, that's not what you're talking about. You're talking about, when you say being a beating, like.
Beaten me to a pulp.
Yeah.
I've come close to death 3 times. And I was always foolish enough to go back. As soon as I'd be healed, I'd go back.
Yeah, and go ahead.
No, how often did the beatings happen? Was it weekly or just monthly or
or what
whenever
instigated
what made him mad?
All I had to do was talk to a guy.
Oh, he was really jealous.
When we first got married, I weighed 125 pounds. My hip bone stuck out. He didn't like that. All the guys were talking to me. He didn't like that. So he forced me to eat till I was over 300 pounds.
Oh, my gosh.
And then, hey, here we go with the verbals. You're fat. You're ugly. Nobody wants no part of you. Nobody even look your way. And then if you say something like, his mom and I never saw eye to eye at all. I despised her and everything she stood for. And he was a mama's boy. So if I looked at his mom wrong, when I got home, I ended up with at least a black eye. At least. I remember one time at my cousin's house out in Arizona, he was out drinking with my cousin's husband, and her dad and I and her little girl were sitting there waiting. Michael said he was going to go and cook on the grill for us. 10 o'clock at night comes, he's still not there. So he shows up, and all I said to him was, you were supposed to fix dinner for everybody. You said it, not me. And you went, took off, and you come home after dinner was long said and done. And, well, he threw me in the bed and just started beating on my face, my stomach, everywhere. Well, my cousin, her dad, heard me scream. He called the police. The police showed up. He ended up going to jail for, I want to say, 9 days. And then that was when the beatings actually stopped. But the verbal abuse got way worse. I still deal with the verbals every day, you know, thinking you're not good enough, you know. But
so help people understand, because I've heard this from multiple people that, because somebody from the outside is like, why would you ever go back? I mean, that's everybody's thing, but I've heard that that's not as easy as said as done. Like
it is very
it's hard to remove yourself.
It
Why?
is.
Help people understand why.
I think it's because you've had it pumped into your head for so long by them that it's just, okay, so I'll stay because nobody else wants me. I can't do this on my own. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough, you know. But
there's a dependence factor.
It's a very, very much dependency. You know, you don't like, and another reason I stayed was I didn't want to have another divorce under my belt. I didn't.
Right.
I thought, well, I'm going to stick with this no matter what. And
So for 21 years.
yes.
That is crazy.
And driving over the road, we got into it. It was at Thanksgiving one year. We got snowed in Montana. In Montana, Kalispell, Montana. And we were there with some other truck driver friends that worked at the same company we did. And him and their sister, they got very chummy. And all I did was say, I can't talk to a man, but you can have that broad right up against you? Really? He banged my head into the dash. He beat me against the shifter. Then he threw me out of the semi into the snow and ice. Took off. He must have felt bad after that because about 2 hours later he came back and got me.
Oh, my gosh.
Meanwhile, there was nobody out there. I mean, it's a snowstorm.
Right.
You know, nobody's out. And I was like, okay, I guess this is it, God. I'm coming home. You know, but
did you have
my
to sit
life
in the
was
snow?
not done. Yeah.
You weren't
there.
at a truck stop or anything?
No.
Oh,
I
my
just
gosh.
laid there.
Wow.
I wasn't going nowhere. I was in bad shape.
Wow.
And again, through all of this, again, back to the
Hating God.
Yeah, I mean, that still obviously has to keep playing into it of like now you're in an abusive relationship with somebody that's
Yes, based on my choices. You know, as far as I'm concerned, I made my choices, and I had to deal with them.
Well, you didn't make a choice to get abused. That's not true.
No, I did not.
No, that was his choice. He did it. That
But
wasn't your fault.
I think I had to go through that to understand that me abusing people when I was younger, fighting all the time, I feel that I had to go through that to endure what I put people through. And so for that, I'm thankful. Did I like it? No.
Right.
But it made me who I am today. You know,
Yeah,
God has brought me through so much that it took me being abused the way I was. And then, of course, you're on the road, so you can't stop at a church and go to church because nobody wants those semis there. And so I got church through the radio. And I always told my mom, I said, maybe one day will come and I'll go get right with God again. So I was listening to all these Christian podcasts on the radio and stuff.
While you're driving with him?
Mm-hmm. He was sleeping in the bunk.
Oh, and you're driving?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, you're a trucker?
Used to be. Used to be a school bus driver, too.
Look at that.
Worked with foster kids, too. So, you know, I'm a Heinz 57 girl.
Wow. Okay, so when he's sleeping, you're driving.
And I'm listening to Christian music. I'm listening to preaching. I always found a station that would just help me through everything I was going through. And it's like, okay, so God's bringing me through this. Okay, so I'm listening more and more, and how I should not be living the life I'm living. I was not put on this earth for this.
Right.
And so I just kept praying and praying. And I told my mom, which really shocked her. I don't think she believed me at first. I said, no, I am right with God again. I said, but I will not be a Catholic again. I said, I learned more as a Christian than I ever learned my whole life as a Catholic about God. But
so where are your kids at during this time? Because
my oldest daughter was living with her dad because my abuser's mother was abusing my oldest daughter. This is how foolish I was. I sent her to live with her dad to protect her when I should have left with my child. Do I regret that? Oh, most definitely. I regret every second of that. But my oldest daughter turned out really good. We have a relationship today, which I never thought would ever happen. So I'm grateful for that. But I feel God has brought me through everything I went through for me to help someone else of domestic violence. What I have learned is it could take many, many times going back before you finally say enough. In my case, it was God pushing him away from me. And what I mean by that is I just completely forgot where I was going with that.
Well, you're at this place, so let me just recap for everybody.
Okay.
So you're going down this road of he's beating you, but you guys are also tied at the hip. I mean, you're driving together, you're living out of a truck, and so this whole idea of dependence, I mean, it's not like you just walk out. It's not like you're at a home and he has a job and you have a job and you can just go. I mean, you're isolated, you're in a truck, you're doing the same things together. You're going back because of some of that. Like, what else are you going to do? And that's what I've heard from especially verbal abuse. Like, verbal abuse beats people down so much that part of the coming back is like, yeah, there isn't anything else. Like, life can't be, they convince you life can't be any better than this. Like, and I'm the best thing for you, even though, like, me telling you these things is more just being honest with you than abusive.
Right.
You know, in that situation. So you're going down this road, you got to the place where you're saying, you know what, this isn't right. Like, I'm feeling, it's like the drawing of the Holy Spirit, right? Like, you're hearing it on the radio, and it's like, this isn't right. I need to get to this place. Now you're at this tension point, or like, what do I do? So talk us through the process. How did you get out of it? You know, you said, well, started pushing him away. Did you just get up and say, I'm out? Like, I'm done?
No. When we went off the road because my youngest daughter had to start school. Well, of course, I couldn't go off the road and him stay on the road because he couldn't see what I was doing. So we go off the road, and I started working for the city of Tarpon, and he was working for the city of Tarpon, but we still had our semis. We had 5.
5 semis?
And then and he and I ran one, his dad ran one, and then we had some friends that drove the others. But we also had a mechanic shop. It was for autos, trucks, motorcycles, boats. He did everything. He's a Heinz 57 man. There's nothing that man cannot do. I will give him that.
Yeah.
But so We had the shop, we had the trucks, we had 2 houses. Found out he was sleeping around on me, which there's proof because there's a boy out there that he's now with that woman, which he can have her, she can have him.
So how did he do that if you're on the road?
Well, this is when we went off the road.
Oh, okay.
And see, I'm working for the city, and he's still driving a truck here and there if a driver couldn't make it.
Got it.
And then he met up with her in Connecticut, and their son is only a couple years younger than Kaylin. So it was while he and I were married, and I know it's his son because he looks just like his mother. Just like my ex-in-law. Acts like her, looks like her. They can have each other. I'm in a better place.
Right.
So God first put that out there, so he's starting to talk with her more and more, and he's disappearing quite a bit. And, then he took and forged my name on a quitclaim deed for one house, a promissory note for another house, and gave the businesses away. All this while I went through 2 days shy of 5-year divorce. He took it all out from under me, and I know that God was involved in this because this was the ultimate hurt.
Right.
You take both my phones, our homes, you take my car, you took my Harley, you got rid of it all and got away with it. You paid the judge off, you got away with everything you did. Well, that's okay. God can handle you. I'm going to stay, and I just kept getting closer and closer with God. And it took me 2 days shy of 5 years because I refused to look at my ex-husband and say, I forgive you for everything you did to me and our daughter. I kept saying, I forgive him, God. God was not happy with that. So I was talking with a friend of mine about it, and I said, oh, you mean I got to tell him to his face? And this is the only time I've ever heard God audibly. And he said, yep. We freaked. We freaked. We went all around her house. We knew it was him, but we wanted to make sure that it was him. So as soon as that happened, I went to get my daughter from him. And we always had to meet in public because I did not trust him to go anywhere else. And most of the time it was at the police station. Try to hurt me now.
Right.
So I walked up to, I said, Kaylin, go get in the car. I got to talk to your dad a minute. And I looked at him right in the eyes. I said, I forgive you for everything that you put our daughter and me through. And I turned around to walk, and I was cursed upside down, one and the other, and he kept getting louder. I just got in my car, drove off. My heart's going like this. I'm like, oh, I did it, Lord. 2 days later, my divorce was final. Go figure.
Wow.
Took me 5 years for God to get it in my thick head that this was going to be it. And the day that I knew I was saved, I'll never forget, it was the night of the blood red moon. I was sitting out on my back patio.
And you're still down in LaPorte?
In Florida.
Florida. Oh, wow.
I was in Florida all this time.
Okay.
And so I'm sitting there, and I'm reading the Bible and praying. And I looked up at the moon. Next thing you know, I could just feel God coming through me. It was such an amazing feeling. I can still feel it at times. And it's like, okay, I know I'm doing the right thing,
So then did you just jump in church and get involved? Like, what happened?
Once I went off the road and got rid of him, There was a church called Calvary Chapel Worship Center in Newport Richey, Florida. That was my church. We had over 6,000 members there. But I kept driving by and kept, you know how you just get drawn, like I was drawn here when I moved here. And so I went in there, and it was amazing. And I have been faithful to God since.
Wow. So what brought you to Huntington? How did you go from Florida to here?
My daughter got into some trouble in LaPorte.
Okay.
And when she came home, I didn't want her there near her ex. So she chose Huntington. And then the house that we chose together happens to be across the river from here.
Oh, wow.
And it was funny because I'm looking for a church and not finding a church that I felt comfortable in. And I didn't even know this was a church, but I kept being drawn to it for some reason. I didn't know why. And then it dawned on me when I looked at the sign, it said Life Church. And I said, okay, I found me a new home. I knew because when I feel God pulling me somewhere, I know. I've been through so much in life that I know when he's involved.
Right. Yeah. So we're at the end, if you can imagine that. So we're already at the end. So talk through, first of all, to the people that are out there that, because again, verbal abuse or physical abuse is unacceptable. It's just absolutely unacceptable. Should not be tolerated. How do women have enough courage to either change the situation or get out of the situation?
Well, God got me out of that situation. You know, he brought that woman into the picture. He was finally leaving me alone. But you're right. Nobody needs to, whether it's a male or female. I know some men that are being abused by women.
Right.
So it's not just women.
Right.
But there is hope out there. And if all else, go to church and find somebody there to talk with.
Right.
Find a therapist to help you through, because the physical, you get over it a lot faster than what you do the mental.
Yeah. I
am still dealing with the mental today.
Yeah, so let's start. How do you do that now? So what would you recommend to somebody that is an abuse survivor?
Get out.
Yeah.
Get out. Your life is more important.
Right.
Than some person, male or female, wants to beat on you, wants to condemn you. You're on this earth for a reason. You are to be loved and to show love and to draw people to God. Do not. I'm dealing with a friend of mine right now who's going through it. And he has pulled her away from me. And I told her, I'm here for you. I gave her the list of the 21 signs of an abuser. I said, get out while you can.
Right.
But once they've got you, they think they have you completely.
Right.
It's up to us to have the strength to move on. And with me, it was going to church and a therapist. I still have a therapist today, you know. I suffer from post-traumatic stress syndrome as well. So, but I'm happier, you know, because I just got to the point where if it's God's will, it will be done.
Right. But you have put yourself in community. I mean, I see you here, like today. I mean, you're working with Jennifer. Like, that's got to be the other part of it, too, is that as you're working through the mental part of it, surrounding yourself with people, being able to talk to people, being able to, I guess, navigate that whole process, I think is
and you know, even if they could even like go to a shelter, because some shelters will allow you to come in for certain meetings or groups to help you understand that, hey, there is plenty of help out here.
Right.
You know, but it's mind over matter.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, if I could save them all, I would.
Right.
You know, but I get upset when I speak with people that I know are being abused, and they stay with it.
Mm-hmm.
But then I tell myself, well, God reminds me, you did it. 21 years you put up with that.
Right.
You know, but no, I am constantly telling myself, I am better than this.
Mm-hmm.
I can do this. You know, my health isn't the greatest now, but hey, I'm alive. I'm here to tell my story. I'm a survivor.
Right.
And if I can help one person, hey, that's one person saved.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. So, first of all, thank you for sharing your story, because
thank you
I
for
think
asking.
for tons of people, like for people to have the courage to just share, like, this is happening. It's real. It's like, it's not far off. It's happening to people
Every
right around.
day.
Yeah. And that sharing your story will equip and empower maybe some men or women to be able to get out of those situations, to, again, find your trust in God, be able to walk away. And also just a reminder to us who aren't in those situations to be there, right? Because I still think that part of these latches that happen inside of marriages that are so unhealthy and so toxic is, well, what else am I going to do? Right. And so if we have a church body and people that can support, you know, and can come around and say, we can help you take your next step. Like, we can help you get that figured out.
And that's it, you know. And I mean, I've told my friend, I said, look, I don't care what you need to do, but you can come over to Huntington. You can stay at our house. It's not that big, but hey, at least you're safe and your kids are safe.
Right. That's what I mean. Having places.
They're yes, and reach out to the people that they pushed away from you.
Yeah.
Because those are the key people that help you, because they understand, they knew what he was capable of, or she, and they understand, so they can help you.
Yeah.
You know, but a lot of mine, I went and did a lot of Bible studies through everything, through my divorce and all that, and that's where I found my inner peace.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Through it all.
Yeah, so when this comes out, because we'll put this out, you know, and so we put always a little teaser on Facebook, and so that people can, you know to be able to go on and watch it. And so if you see it, make sure that you like, share, or comment, because that's will help get this story onto other people's pages for the opportunity for more and more people to be able to hear it and be able to share it. And so that's what we really, want for people, because this is a story that people need to hear, right? And that they need to understand that we can be there to help, and we can be there to rescue,
That's
and,
right.
And help give men and women courage to be able to get out of these situations and
know that there is a better life out there.
Right.
That we're not on this earth to be abused in any way, shape, or form.
Amen. So,
and I praise God for that.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing your story. Thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.